In the quiet town of Elmswood, dusk descended slowly, casting long shadows that danced between the trees. It was the kind of place where neighbors exchanged pleasantries and doors remained unlocked, a sanctuary of innocence, or so it seemed. Lila Hart was a local barista, known for her infectious laugh and warm smile. But lately, her laughter had faded, replaced by an unsettling feeling that someone was watching her. It began with the small things, a rustling sound behind her at night, the faintest whisper of footsteps echoing down the alley as she closed up the cafe. She brushed it off, attributing her unease to the long hours and endless cups of coffee. But the feeling grew, creeping into her thoughts like a shadow. One evening, while she was locking up, she caught a glimpse of a figure at the edge of the park, a silhouette standing still under the flickering streetlight. When she turned to look more closely, the figure vanished, swallowed by the dark. That night, Lila locked her windows and checked her doors 3 times before slipping under the covers. Sleep eluded her, and she found herself staring at the ceiling, straining to listen for any sound that might betray the presence of an intruder. Days turned into weeks, and the sense of being watched intensified. Lila began to notice strange things. Her favorite coffee mug was moved from its usual spot. Her journal pages were flipped to entries she hadn't shared with anyone. Each small sign made her heart race, whispering to her that she wasn't alone. Then came the messages. It started innocently enough. A note slipped into her bag reading, "You're beautiful." At first, she dismissed it as a misguided crush, but soon, the notes became more frequent and unsettling. "I see you," one read, followed by a chilling sketch of her likeness. Lila's heart pounded as she crumpled the paper, a scream lodged in her throat. Terrified, she confided in her best friend, Mia. Together they scoured social media and reached out to the police, but no leads surfaced. Lila began to avoid the cafe alone, insisting on meeting Mia after work. But Mia had her own commitments, and soon Lila found herself alone again. One night, driven by a mix of fear and determination, Lila set up a camera in her living room. She hoped to catch a glimpse of whoever had invaded her life. As she watched the footage the next day, her blood ran cold. The camera revealed a figure lurking at her window, a dark silhouette pressed against the glass, staring in with hollow eyes. Heart racing, she called the police again, but they couldn't find anyone. Days passed, and Lila began to lose hope. She avoided her favorite places, shunning the routines that once brought her joy. Then, one fateful evening, she returned home to find her front door ajar. Adrenaline surged as she entered cautiously, heart pounding. The apartment felt unnervingly quiet, the air thick with dread. Suddenly, she heard a soft whisper from the shadows. "You've been so hard to find." The voice was low and gravelly, sending chills down her spine. A figure stepped into the light, wearing a mask that concealed their identity. "Who are you?" Lila demanded, her voice trembling. The figure took a step closer, revealing a glinting knife in their hand. "I've watched you for so long. You were meant to be mine." Panic surged through Lila as she backed away, her mind racing for an escape. She dashed toward the kitchen, grabbing a knife of her own, heart pounding like a drum. But the figure was fast, lunging at her. They struggled, a desperate dance of survival, the world narrowing to a fight for her life. With a burst of strength, Lila managed to knock the figure back, sending them crashing into the table. The knife slipped from their grasp. In that split second, she seized the opportunity, grabbing the fallen knife and pressing it to their throat. "Who are you?" she demanded again, breathless and terrified. The figure removed their mask, revealing a familiar face, someone she recognized from the cafe. "You didn't even notice me," they hissed, eyes wild with obsession. "I loved you from the first smile." Realizing the weight of the madness before her, Lila's heart sank. "You're sick," she said, trembling. "No," they screamed. "You'll understand. We're meant to be together." As sirens wailed in the distance, Lila's instincts kicked in. She pushed the figure away and bolted for the door, sprinting into the night. She didn't look back, knowing that the shadows were filled with more than just darkness. They were filled with the madness of someone who had lost all sense of reality. The police arrived moments later, but the figure had vanished, leaving only the remnants of their obsession behind. Lila's life would never be the same. Elmswood, once a haven, had transformed into a haunting memory, a place where love twisted into something monstrous. From that day on, Lila never felt safe again, haunted by the knowledge that someone was always watching, lurking just beyond the light. And in the darkness, the shadows whispered her name.